Last time we did one of these real estate react videos, you all seemed to really love it, so this time I'm reacting to historic homes for sale that you've sent me since then. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's just dive right in. Just like last time, you all are going to see the picture of the house before I do while I read the stats. So this one is in Tuxedo Park, New York, $27,500,000, 19 bed, 21 baths, 22,400 square feet, and it was built in 1928. Let's see what we're working with here. Oh wow, this one is really charming. It kind of has those like Tudor storybook elements to it. And yeah, that charm just continues around the side to the front here. I'm really excited to see how this one plays out. So it looks like we step into this vestibule, which is stone clad, go through iron grills, and then suddenly you're in the stair hall. Yeah, this is a glorious house. Love those parquet floors. Then all the gilded accents up on the cornice. Yeah, this is really lovely. Oh, and then we get to the library. The library is always one of my favorite rooms in these old houses, just because of all the wood paneling, intricate plasterwork that you find. And then, of course, you can just imagine the smell of books overwhelming the space. Oh no, this is a charming detail. It looks like there's some steps down to the dining room. I love this bit of Gothic tracery up here, and then also the hexagonal tiles. It's a really charming and rustic kind of feel that it lends. Then I think they did okay with the kitchen. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, there's a lot of fun spaces in this house. It doesn't seem to be taking itself too seriously, and yet it's still very elegant in some places. Yeah, what a spread that is with the pool, tennis courts, formal gardens. Yeah, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous property. Alright, the next house is in New York, $68 million, 6 bed, 9 baths, and we don't know the square footage of this one. So let's scroll up and take a look. Oh, I've walked past this house several times, and I think I've actually seen these listing photos before. Sometimes I like to doom scroll the real estate apps just to see what's out there and get an idea of houses I can feature. And I have not reached out to the owners of this house. Wow, this is insanely gorgeous. I'm just absolutely blown away by the plasterwork on the ceiling. This is really intricate and delicate looking. And this is such a charming dining area. Oh, and then the kitchen is fun. Are those mint green cabinets? Well, that's fine, because I mean, you have stuff like this in the house. This is just incredible. And I wonder how much of this is original, because we get to the dressing room here and we see all these little built-ins, and this is just not how closets would be designed today. I'm sure it's been renovated or updated over the years, but it's still just very nice and very functional. Next up, we're going to St. Louis, Missouri. The house is listed at $2.3 million, 7 bed, 5 baths, almost 10,000 square feet, and it was built in 1903. Right from the start, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the curb appeal. With the Italian palazzo composition, the Italian Renaissance detailing, this is a very lovely home. I'm excited to see how this plays out on the interior if we follow through with the same kind of historic charm that we've been seeing in the different architectural elements from the exterior. I have a feeling we'll get there any day now. Oh, here we are. We're in the entrance hall. Wow, these pilasters are absolutely breathtaking. Looks like the same kind of detailing continues on the newel post over here, really tying it all together. And then the stair landing, I hope we have a better picture of this because it looks like the windows bow out. I guess one thing at a time though, we'll probably get there eventually. So what might be considered the drawing room has an incredibly elaborate plaster frieze capping off the paneled walls. And then that fireplace surround is immaculate, wow. This is the kind of detailing you just don't find in newer houses, with all these intricate carvings everywhere. Yeah, furnishings aside, this is an incredible house to be exploring, just from an architectural standpoint. It's very interesting. And once again, I'm seeing these houses for the first time, so I'm not really sure what's been restored, what's been renovated, what's been added onto. But one of these details I really like in this room is how the built-ins are perfectly in line with the wainscoting. It just creates a seamless look to the room. It just feels very natural and very pleasant to experience. And this looks like a conservatory to me. with the tile floor and windows on all the sides. And look at this. This millwork is all curved to round out with the room. I think those types of details are just so pleasant to find. Of course, this dining room is absolutely gorgeous. I love these pilasters. And then the kitchen is pretty modern. I'm not really sure how we got here. I think we ran into that same issue in the last video we did with historic homes. But that's okay, because we get to stuff like this. This is that landing I really wanted to see. This is just truly an incredibly special space right here. Yeah, I can imagine just sitting here all day reading a nice book. That'd be such a lovely, lovely place. Alright, and all these bedrooms and closets, we can move on to the next one. Alright, we are now going to Greenwich, Connecticut. The house is listed for 24.9 mil, 7 beds, 7 baths, over 18,000 square feet, and it was built in 1891. Okay, now this is a house I can vibe with. I really love the Tudor Gothic elements, giving that first grand impression. I'm really excited to see the interior of this one. So it looks like you walk in, you have an ingle nook, nice little place to warm up. If that was the entrance, these pictures seem maybe a little random, but it's so warm and cheerful inside. So maybe we'll just have to kind of imagine where we are in the house as we go through. I think this is pretty clearly the dining room. And then the kitchen, even though it's a white kitchen, because the dining room is also all white, I think that works to tie in together. I really like to see matching millwork, painted or unpainted, to create that cohesive experience whenever you're exploring these old homes. So even if it has been updated, I do like to see the same themes play out. And wow, these windows are incredible. Oh, and what a charming space this is with the stained glass and the wallpaper. All that beautiful, beautiful wood wainscoting. So where I said there was an ingle nook earlier, it looks like I was correct because it has the same flooring as this entrance hall does. And I am absolutely drawn to these balusters here, which look like they have Ionic capitals on them, and perhaps they fade to Doric afterwards. That's a very interesting use of, the classical order. So then we get to the bedrooms, and there are absolutely some charming details in here with the wainscoting, the pointed arches. Yeah, I love how these Gothic themes just keep carrying throughout the house in just kind of the smallest places. A lot of attention to detail was put into this house, whether it's newer or older. I mean, this looks like a finished basement, and yet it could totally pass for an old-timey billiards room or even a library. Oh, and then the backyard. Yeah, this is such an absolutely charming estate. It would be like living in a fairy tale to be able to enjoy this every day. Our next house is in Newport, Rhode Island, listed for $18 million, 12 beds, 11.5 baths, 16,601 square feet, and it was built in 1929. Let's see what we're working with here. Now this is my kind of house, the chateau-esque with the steep roof. I am absolutely loving this so far. Oh, and I see the marble house right here in the background, next to Beechwood. So I am very, very familiar with this area. I've definitely walked by these gates a million times, but I've never had a chance to see the inside of this one, so I'm very excited to get there. These grounds are absolutely lovely. It's exactly what you'd expect for the area around Bellevue Avenue. The entrance hall isn't quite as grand as what you might expect in most of these Newport cottages. However, this is still very charming, and it looks like it might be a center hall plan because it's carrying straight through to the backyard. And I see this grand staircase just peeking out from around the corner. I'm hoping we get there soon. I'm sure we'll get there eventually, but in the meantime, this room is incredible. Yeah, I'm a sucker for herringbone floors, or really parquet of any kind. And wow, 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 wow. Check out this space. Look at these insanely intricate carvings on these wood panels. I wonder if this was salvaged, or if this was designed specifically for this house. I might need to look into this one a bit more closely. But I don't really mind the modern furnishings with this house. It seems to have been done very well. The use of color is excellent. It's very balanced with a lot of complementary touches with the decor. And the kitchen, it's all stainless steel. All stainless steel. Interesting choice, but if you can afford a house like this, you're probably not doing too much cooking yourself, so that's probably for a chef. Very sterile butler's pantry. Interesting that they went with what looks like maybe historic china in such a sterile space. It's an interesting touch for sure. Now, this staircase is absolutely wonderful. This looks maybe like Kenstone or marble. And then we have this gilding on the wrought iron. Yeah, this is absolutely gorgeous. And I love how almost all the rooms seem to have the same paneling throughout. It really ties it all together. They each have their own, distinguishable characteristics, such as in this dressing room or bathroom. But it's just nice to see so many characteristics carried throughout the house. Once again, it gives it that cohesive feeling throughout. Yeah, this was an absolutely lovely home, and I thank you guys for sending it in to me to see. This has been such a pleasure. Alright, let's move on to our next house. It's in Tuxedo Park, New York, $6.8 million, 5 beds, 6 baths, over 10,000 square feet, and it was built in 1912. And I can already see why you all sent this in for me to look at. The roof is very interesting. It almost gives the appearance of a thatch roof, but I can tell that these are shingles. And then there's an interesting entablature over the main door. Yeah, we can get a closer look at that. Oh, and then these beautiful tiles. Oh, and then the interior. Yeah, I'm already absolutely enthralled by this house. From the chandeliers to this intricate cornice to these beautiful Corinthian columns. And I'm not quite sure what material this is, if this is stone or if this is painted. Hopefully we get a closer look at that at some point. Oh, and then this grand staircase just swooping down so gracefully. I really love these pops of color we're getting through these natural materials, whether it be stone or the tile work or the different variations in the wood tones. It's all very pleasant and very warm. And this is a very interesting door surround. You don't usually see fluting along the top here in this time period. And then these very intricate corners. This almost harkens back to maybe like 30-40 years before the house was built. And then this dining room is just absolutely incredible. It's interesting that the paneling is wood and yet the window surrounds are all painted white. I wonder if it was originally like that or if this is something that someone decided to do more recently. However, the picture rail caps it all off and brings it all together below this Jacobean ceiling. Just absolutely stunning work here. Oh, and this door looks super special. I wonder where this takes us. Maybe we don't get to find out. That might just be a little secret for the next owner. And honestly, I don't think I would care for this kitchen too much with the blue countertops if it weren't for this chinoiserie. I'm an absolute sucker for chinoiserie. I have it in my own dining room, and it just kind of helps to pull it all together. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous setting. Tuxedo Park is such a magical place. If you ever are invited to a house there, I highly recommend you take up that invitation and just go, because otherwise it is just such a private little enclave, but it is such a pleasure to just be there and experience Tuxedo Park. Alright, the next house is in San Francisco, California, 8.5 million, 6 bed, 6.5 bath, 8,200 square feet, and it was built in 1876. When I think of San Francisco, this is exactly the type of house I imagine. I love the Italianate with some might call stick style. It's just so fitting for the region. And, oh, this house has a name, the Schloss Lilienthal House. This house was constructed in the country's centennial by Louis Schloss as a wedding gift for his daughter Bella and her husband Ernest Lilienthal. It is a classic example of Italianate architecture with its elegant angled bay windows so characteristic of San Francisco during the Champagne Day of the 1870s. Oh, it survived the 1906 earthquake and fire, and has remained virtually unaltered. Well, I am incredibly excited to see this one. These details all around the exterior are absolutely incredible, and it looks like they continue into the porch here. Strictly for the architectural elements, this is exactly what you would expect to see walking into one of these houses. Of course, I would love to see wallpaper everywhere and a bunch of period tchotchkes. And in this photo, it appears to be that way. I'm guessing we saw a virtually staged photo in the last one. So yeah, this is definitely more in line with what I would love to see walking into this house. Wow. This ceiling's incredible. Why would they do the virtual staging? This looks so bad compared to what is actually here. Yeah, this is a gorgeous house. It looks like it's kind of your standard parlor plan, which once again, that's exactly what you would expect to see in one of these houses out in San Francisco. And the kitchen is modern, and that's okay. It looks like a lot of the rooms are essentially the same. I do love these bay windows, how they're separated by these giant corbels. This is really something. I'm a huge fan of stick style, of Eastlake, of the Italianate. And yeah, this is an absolutely gorgeous house. Hopefully whoever gets this one next maintains this level of care for its historic detailing. Our next house is in Grosse Ile, Michigan, listed for 2.45 mil, 7 bed, 8.5 baths, almost 10,000 square feet, and it was built in 1928. It's very humble looking compared to what we've seen so far. However, I must say I love this giant front porch, and I would imagine that these windows could be taken out to give a second floor veranda as well. Of course, that's only speculation. We haven't seen anything inside yet. Yeah, this front porch is incredible. I would spend so much time out here. Then we get to the entrance hall. It's clad floor to ceiling in painted wall paneling. And this one is actually looking familiar. I believe this was another Fisher residence, which every time we do anything in Michigan, their name seems to pop up. Oh, this is a gorgeous space. I love these stone floors with the wood. It just works. Oh, and then the dining room. I'm a huge fan of murals. I just like to see the artistry play out in houses. I think we've really lost a lot of the artistic initiatives that we had in the past, where it was just stylish to have an artist come to your house and just kind of let their imagination flow. And I really wish that our culture was more in line with that today and that it wasn't so cookie cutter looking everywhere, even in the higher end houses. Of course, people still build houses like this today. They're just very, very few and far between. But I would love to see a resurgence of the arts make their way back into houses of this caliber. Yeah, this is an absolutely gorgeous house. I'm so glad this one was sent in. It's very charming and it's very humble. It doesn't feel pretentious, it feels very comfortable. It's easy to imagine living in these spaces. Oh no, this is an interesting shot. I love seeing the underbellies of these houses. I'm wondering if this is the original boiler. If so, it'd be interesting to know how well it still works. Some of those things just never break down, as long as you keep them maintained. Yep, they certainly don't build them like they used to. Alright, let's move on to our next house. In Buffalo, New York, it is listed for 3.25 mil, 8 beds, 7 baths, almost 30,000 square feet, and it was built in 1895. And I immediately recognized this house. This was on Buffalo's Millionaires Row, and I believe I covered it in the video I did of Buffalo's Millionaires Row, but probably with black and white pictures only. Yeah, I recognize this, but it's very interesting seeing it in color. This carved ceiling is incredible, with all these little rosettes and delicate plaster bits. I am loving this so far. The tile on the floor is a choice, but at least it's not throughout the whole house. This room is very, very stately. Oh wow, and then the fireplace. Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. Check out this really interesting detail here. It's like the foliage is wrapping back on itself to support the acanthus leaves. It's a very interesting bit of craftsmanship. Oh, and then we're back into the stair hall, and we can get a much better look at the festoons. I am just blown away by the craftsmanship inside this house. I mean, my god, this ceiling's incredible. Oh, and who wouldn't love a Gothic library like this? Check out the tracery work on these glass cabinets. Yeah, that's just so amazing. Oh, and this room's interesting. We have kind of a departure from these more English aesthetics into more French aesthetics. Yeah, this is very interesting. The cove ceiling with this almost trellis motif. I wish we could get a much closer look at the details. I really want to see what exactly is composing those little details. The whole house is just so full of teensy tiny details. I could spend hours in here just walking room to room, looking at all the little tiny things. Oh, and this is so whimsical and light. I love this. I love this Fibonacci swirl. All the floral work up here and the plaster. It's almost giving like a toned down Rococo. Yeah, I absolutely love this space. I'm not sure what this room would have been originally, but it looks like it's staged as a dining room right now, which I could absolutely see having a big fancy meal in there. And it looks like now this is the second floor stair landing. This house just goes on and on. Perhaps this is the dining room? Though it seems like we're upstairs based on the order of these pictures, so perhaps it's more of a bedroom or a study? I'm not really certain. And we have another study. You know what? I think I'm remembering now. I believe this house became offices, and this is all making a lot more sense now, how it's set up. Yeah, that was an absolutely gorgeous house to end this on. Thank you all for joining me on this journey as we look through all these houses. If you come across historic houses that are absolutely mind-blowing like the ones we just saw, go ahead and send me an email with them, and maybe I'll make another one of these videos. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.